Welcome to the chancel area of St. Paul's Lutheran Church here in Origsburg. I'm Barbara Lafko, a member here of St. Paul's. I grew up in this church and went to New Jersey for a couple years, but came back in 1980 and have been here ever since. I became active on the Altar Guild because Catherine Snyder, a member here, asked me to join her on her shift for the Altar Guild, and that's how I became active here with the Altar Guild, and I'm glad I did. This is the area that's the responsibility of the Altar Guild. The Guild has a set of guidelines in this pamphlet and this book that we refer to as far as how things are to be done, and we also, of course, have the wisdom and guidance of our pastor. The Altar Guild makes sure that all the linens, all the pulpit, altar, and lectern paraments are cleaned and stored properly so that they are ready to go for the next Sunday of whatever season is appropriate for the church year. We are also responsible for the care and cleaning and repairs of all the brass work, which would include the candelabras, the cross, the Bible stand, and individual candlesticks. So we take care of all of those too and make sure that they're nice and shiny and kept in good order. Communion ware is cleaned and polished also by the committee, and this is some of our communion ware that we use weekly. And they are polished, cleaned, and stored correctly so that they're ready for every service. Wine and wafers are also the responsibility of the Altar Guild so that they're ready also and put out on the altar for communion. If there is a baptism being held, the Altar Guild prepares the font, putting warm water in the font, and sets up the other necessary items for the baptism, including a candle, a napkin, and a commemorative towel. When special worship services are held, this guild would help with any setup in the church if it's needed. If communion is celebrated during a funeral or a wedding, we also would be the ones that prepare the altar for that part of that service. The assigned team would typically come into church on a Saturday morning, and they would set up the chancel area, this area, for the weekend services, including placing fresh flowers on the credence shelves. They would also make sure that the appropriate colors are put on the pulpit and lectern and altar for that week and that season of the year. They would also set out all the communion ware and get it ready for the communion part of the service. And they would also make sure that the wafers and the wine are placed in appropriate places along with any other of the proper linens that are used during communion. After the service, the guild members clean and store all the items used during the service. They also remove the altar flowers and place them in containers so that the sponsors may take them home. The candles, including the followers, which are those little brass things at the top, are also supposed to be and always are checked and made sure that if they need to be replaced, that they are replaced. Most of the major items here that are needed in the chancel area of the church have been purchased through the generosity of gifts given to the Memorial Fund. Most of the paraments used today were purchased years ago and were purchased in a kit form, and our church member, Sarah Kramer, sewed them all and got them ready for use in our church. Storage of these paraments and items that we need for the church are stored in cabinets that also were memorial gifts, and those cabinets were handcrafted by cabinet makers from the local area. We on the Altar Committee are very blessed to have such dedicated volunteers serving on the Altar Guild.